yeah, baby.
Hey Jim, behind me you can see the junkyard refugee Viking stove, and you can see that I've had to rip it apart pretty far in order to figure out what's going on with these silly doors. Let me show you. If you watched the first video about this unit, you saw that the door on this side made a lot of noise, but it would open all the way. And the door on this side would only open about halfway, and clunk, that was it. Done. So I can see why this oven was retired, because this side was rendered pretty much useless. I mean, you could stick small stuff in through the top, but for anything of any size, or if you want to get in there to clean it or anything, you can't really open the door. And that forced you to use this side all the time. And this side, the oven control, you can see here, had been broken off, and it looks like it's been sort of epoxied back on. But then the way it's epoxied on there, the if it does even work at all, the numbers aren't correct for the indicator. So this is going to have to be addressed. But basically it rendered both of the ovens useless. So I decided the first thing I'm going to address here, if possible, is what's going on with these hinges. I found some paperwork, and I'm not going to show anything identifying really on it, but here's the service. He comes, Viking gas range, oven door will not open all the way. Does not want to force it. Says check the unit door, not opening, bad hinges, look at BDF for parts, can't get door off. And apparently that's not the only one. Apparently there was several appliance repair places that came out to try to do something about the door on this, and also about the broken thermostat mount, you know, the thing I just showed you. Apparently Viking said they're not making parts anymore. So Viking did not support the owner of this for parts, so it ended up going out to the junk pile. But let me show you what I found. You can see I've had to dismantle the front vent panels and take out the entire interior of the oven. The floor panels, they're over here, and then these side panels lift out. And in order to get to the panel that covers the hinge. But this is how the hinge on normal oven would work, I would think. You can see where the door goes fully open. Okay, good. And if you want to take the door off, you kick this little tab in, and it holds the door half open. And then you should be able to slightly lift up on the door, pull, and it comes off. This one wouldn't come off, neither would this one. And so I messed around for a long time with this one over here, and finally it came off. But in order to come off, I had to open it a little further and then push down on the door, which made the tab piece disappear, and then pull back before the tab piece got back into place, and then the door slid off. So I think it was somehow getting caught on this little tab piece. I'm not sure. I'm going to experiment with the door with the hinge that I have off, and I think I'm going to take all these hinges off and do a little service on them, and I'll show you why in a minute. The one that was giving us fits was the one on this side, and you can see I have it out. In order to get it out, you have to take out all this stuff, this sidewall here, and then there's this panel. Let me get it out here. This panel right here fits in there over the hinge, and it's held down on the bottom there. You can see the screw hole, and then the top there you can see a screw hole. So it's only held on by two 8mm hex heads. Once that is loosened up and removed, then the hinge is held on by a Phillips screw here and a Phillips screw here, and then the whole thing pulls out. And let me show you what I found that was causing it to stick. This is our hinge, and our oven body would be where my finger is, and our oven door would be mounted on this part. So this part is inside the edge of the oven. Now I've already loosened the spring. I've removed it from where it was right here. And you can see that even with no spring or anything, this is getting stuck right there. It doesn't want to open all the way. And the reason why, if you look in here, this little roller device that has spring tension on it all the time doesn't want to go any further because, let me pull it up. Here we go. It's because, no, I just dropped one of the little rollers, so I'll have to go get that. But you can see where the end of the axle here, it's even bent a little bit, and it's been driving the end of that little axle deep into the edge inside here, and it's been wearing a groove. So I'm going to attempt to repair this by smoothing that groove out. I'm going to slightly widen this channel just a hair, and I'm going to grind a little bit off the end of that axle so it doesn't have that nub to rub. And I think if I do all of that, smooth everything out, then this should work properly. And that's why I want to take out all three of the other ones and make sure that they are not having the same problem develop. So there's the hinge back together. I put the spring back on, and I've got the little stop holding it at a quarter, but you'll see now it will open all the way with no problem. And I didn't have to grind anything in here on the little axle where the wheels go. It was offset. All I had to do was squeeze it the rest of the way in and seat it where it's centered. And then I lost one of the little wheels that goes on there. So I ended up making, now I've lost, there it is. I ended up making a new wheel using an old X-Acto handle that was the right diameter and had close to the right size hole. So anyway, that's because I run such a clean, tight ship here. If you drop something, you pretty much never see it again. Okay, so now I'm going to reinstall this and see if I've got an oven door that works. But first, I'm going to try to figure out what the dealio is with how hard it was to take these the doors off the hinges. So let me kind of explore that for a sec. Well, it looks like there's been a lot of tangling going on in there. Seems to me like the only way this thing is going to go in nicely is when it gets to this point. The bottom of this lock is our problem. So we have to open the door enough where this lock can fold down and this tab at the bottom can fold up out of the way. Then it should slip right in, and then when we open it again and this thing springs back into position, this little guy locks the door in place by dropping in that slot right back there. I think that's how it's supposed to work. Let's see. Yes, that does work. So I did take apart the other hinges, looked them over. There was one on this side that had the drift pin starting to move, the split pin, I should say, starting to move to the side and make a little groove. So I centered it and cleaned up with a file the little bit of groove it was starting to make. So this door would have done the same thing as the other door and jammed at a certain point. But now, Still makes noise because of those crazy springs. But there we go. So now let me put this side back together and make sure that it works, because that's the one that was totally jammed. So I put this plate back in and replaced the two 8mm hex heads. And then I'm going to move this side panel back in place. It's definitely easier to do with two hands. So I'm going to tuck the rear in, and then the whole thing's just popped in. Now I'm going to put in this whole bottom plate. And the deal with this is it's this big thing. And when it comes in here, it has to rest on top of those little shelves there. There's one on each side. And then once it's back all the way and on top of those and happy, it'll snap down over here. Okay, the door slipped on just right. You get it on there. You start to close it where the little tab thingy clears. You pick it up until it snaps out of the way, and bam, down you go, and the door is reset. And this is probably, assuming it will open, oh yeah, probably the first time this thing is opened all the way in years. I want to be more disappointed than I should be, I guess, in the supposed professional appliance repair people that attempted to fix the broken door and other stuff on this stove. And yeah, then I can't really be that mad, because the only reason I was able to accomplish this, and I don't know anything about appliances. I've never worked on ovens before. I've installed one at the old house, and the doors came off real easy. It was an over-under. Anyway, I haven't really done any real appliance repair, and yet I'm able to repair this door. They said their problem was no more parts. They don't manufacture those hinges anymore. Well, they didn't even bother to dig into it far enough to look and see what was wrong with the hinge. They just wanted to put in a new part, and that's kind of sad. Although the doors were stuck, and the only way that I got them off was because I really didn't care. I mean, it's sad to say, but I forced them a little bit. I really did some hard stuff to them to make them finally break free and come loose. So that wouldn't be something that you'd be comfortable doing if this belonged to someone else and they were going to hold you responsible for damages. Thankfully, it worked out okay. At least it seems to so far. We'll find out when I get the adapter hose and actually hook some propane up to this bad boy. But meanwhile, I got to put the bottoms back on, and it's starting to look like it might actually be a good thing. I already knew it was a good thing. Thanks for watching.